of operating a community cooker requires a lot of management and also patience as well as a commitment. And here today, Wakina will be taking us through on exactly from point A to point B of exact operating a community cooker.
So you bring in the rubbish. This rubbish should normally come from the school, but it's not enough for the school to operate. So when the rubbish comes in, they'll sort the diapers, they'll sort the glass, rubber and metal, and then whatever goes in here is what can be burnt. Now for these diapers, they have to put them in this rack over here for it to be aerated, and then after it's aerated, now it can be burnt in the cooker. So the school, one of the challenges the school experienced when they got a community cooker is they couldn't generate enough rubbish for them to run a community cooker every day. Okay. So what they had to do, they had to get into partnership with other organizations that are already generating a lot of rubbish to bring it to them probably every 6 months. And then that rubbish goes to the community cooker.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we have people who like sort here or?
Yeah, of course, of course. Obviously, there are people who will come here when the rubbish comes in, as they bring in the rubbish for this place. They will bring in the rubbish and then they'll sort into the different categories, and then what cannot be burnt will be taken somewhere else.
So someone might be asking, how many days does it take for these diapers to dry?
On a rainy day, it would probably be 2 days, because it's not to dry completely, but just like an aerated structure where air flows in through the diapers, and then most of the dampness has gone away. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is step 1?
Yeah.
Do we do step 2?
So from step 1, from here, you'll see this is like a bundle. Yeah. So when you're putting rubbish into the cooker, you don't put rubbish just one by one. There's a risk of fire coming back. You have to bundle it like this. And if you don't have a bag like this, I mean, you remember when you were children and you used to make small balls from paper? You just have to compress the rubbish together so it can fit into the community cooker. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So, but you cannot do like one. You have to do it in a...
Yes, yes. And to explain to you, to give a perspective to the 250 kgs of rubbish that would be burnt in a day, it's approximately filling this portion of the rack from this level down to almost this level up. Okay. So again, that's a lot of rubbish. And you might be looking at this rubbish rack and wondering where they're getting their rubbish from. But this school already has maybe 4 classrooms that they dedicated into getting rubbish from other institutions. And this is just their rubbish for a day. So you can see it really can work.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so step 1, do we do step 2?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess. This is ash for like how many years? Like 3 years.
Oh.
Yeah. So it produces...
Use it for farming or...
No, actually we use it for construction.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's the end, like the end product.
For me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
In a packing bag, now it's in a box, because he doesn't have, I mean, whatever you use is what you make the bundles with. So in the morning or whatever time you're lighting the cooker, you only need, you just need oil, water, and a matchbox, and some rubbish. So you'd come to the box at the bottom, which basically is the firebox. So the firebox, you have to get the firebox extremely hot first, and then you put in rubbish that burns, you light with a match, and then on the hot plate on the firebox, you drop drops of water and oil, which now boosts the temperature from 250 to above 800 degrees. So inside here, the cooker has 2 chambers. One is the combustion chamber, where all the rubbish burns, and the second is just the hot air chamber, where there's continuous combustion of the hot air so that we can get clean gases from the chimney. So yeah, and that's how you light the cooker. So every time you want to put in more rubbish, you have to check the chimney to see the amount of smoke you have. That determines that you have to put in rubbish. So as I was telling you earlier, when you put in rubbish, like this bundle, so you see again, when you're putting in rubbish, you have to be well dressed, because in case anything happens, you know. Yeah. So he'll put in the rubbish inside. So we have oxygen inlets on the sides. You can see the 2 holes on the sides. And then as you go on now, you can go on putting in rubbish. So you can see now it's burning. So you just have to turn rubbish every now and then as you add in the rubbish. Yeah.
And then, okay, let's talk about the ash. And we've said the ash that is produced here, obviously it's collected.
Yeah.
What happens?
So there is minimal ash collected. There is probably the amount of your hand every day. And this ash, we use it to in the second chamber from the other side. It's more definite. So from this first chamber, the second chamber is now just hot air. Again, after you burn rubbish completely. So by the time it gets really, because it's very clean and it has a lot of pressure, meaning it's very hot by the time it gets out.
Yeah.
And normally you would see a dark kind of smoke that you can see right now. Yeah.
So from that point, the smoke is not on like it comes out upright.
Yes. So the combustion will happen in the first chamber where we have all the. In the second chamber, is where now the hot air goes on burning, and by the time it comes to the top of the chimney, it's already completely combusted. So that smoke from the top was tested by us just as I was clean gases. And that's what I was telling you, we don't have the carbon monoxide levels, the sulfur dioxide levels. Okay. Yeah.
And I think to myself,
that is burning. There's a wall separating the two, only allowing the hot air to come in. When the hot air comes in, it goes on combusting. So in this specific cooker, in the first chamber, we get 1,000 degrees. Maintenance purposes that everything is readily available, yeah? So the hot plates get hot, and you can cook on top of them. Just so now, these are the hot plates. Nakanika on a struggle.
Okay. Evo.
So these are the hot plates. So the heat from the first chamber comes to the second chamber. Then the second chamber, we have these hot plates that get hot, and you can cook on top of them. As you've seen, the lunch has been cooked here today. Okay. On each side of the cooker, there are ovens that can be used for baking, can be used for roasting, can be used for many other things. Then there's also a hot water system inside that generates hot water that can be used for laundry, for showering, for washing utensils, I mean for so many other uses.
Okay.
So for this specific cooker, they're saving approximately 90%, say 80 to 90% fuel costs by just using the cooker instead of using charcoal and firewood.
and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
So I hope you've learned more on how exactly to install, maintain a community cooker and how waste management or waste can be of use at home. Well, that's all we had for you today. My name is Anne Mashere. Tune in next week for another exciting episode.